The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, I'm Melanie Levesque, and this is today's news on 1680 The Crow. Our producer, Max Mashman, is here with the morning headlines. Max, what stories are we covering today? Several scheduled ferry sailings between Vancouver and Victoria have been cancelled today due to concerns about upcoming storms. Both morning departures set to leave Schwartz Bay in Tsawwassen at 7 and 9 a.m. were cancelled. BC Ferry is going to monitor conditions and update travelers throughout the day. Toronto police are still in search for the driver and occupants of a vehicle spotted leaving the scene after 19-year-old Rihanna Leah Richards was shot and killed. The shooting occurred December 31st at Jungle Nightclub. Deputy Chief of Police Mark Andrews says they are surveying the area.
There are concerns that it could reopen as a different establishment, but we are working with our partners at the city and with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission to ensure that we have restrictions placed around the premise that mitigate that possibility of ongoing violence.
Police also say the victim was not the intended target of the shooting. Palestinian Canadian families will be eligible for limited numbers of visas today. The visa program will expand to include grandparents, parents, and adult children, as well as some other family members. Karen Robot of the Canadian Express explains the frustration around limited visas.
The program offers visas to a maximum of 1,000 people with extended family members in this country. It would allow them to take refuge in Canada for 3 years if their families are willing to financially support them during that time. The National Council of Canadian Muslims has criticized the cap. Marilyn Kaskin echoed those frustrations. She notes Ottawa has welcomed more than 210,000 Ukrainians fleeing Russian attacks on their country. She suggests that says Palestinian people's lives don't matter.
Refugees and Citizenships Canada says the visas are limited due to the difficulty of moving Palestinian Canadians over the tightly controlled Egypt border. A senator who advocated for medically assisted death to be an option for people with mental illness says the federal government must decide whether or not to allow all Canadians to choose their own end-of-life care. Emily Javisky of the Canadian Press has more.
Senator Stan Kutcher, a psychiatrist from Nova Scotia, argued in favor of expanding the eligibility criteria to include those with a mental disorder as their sole underlying condition. A joint committee of parliamentarians was asked last fall to study the question of whether the healthcare system was ready, and the Liberals now face the choice of whether to go ahead with the broadening rules. Kutcher sat on the committee and says he believes the courts have ruled Canadians should have access to medical assistance in dying on a case-by-case basis, and he expects Canada's Attorney General would adhere to the charter. Emily Joveski, The Canadian Press.
The expansion was set to take effect last year, but was delayed to allow more time for consideration. As for local weather, today in Vancouver it is 7 degrees and mostly cloudy. This week, snow and rain are expected with a high of 8 degrees and a low of -1. Thunderstorms are also forecasted for tomorrow. Winds are expected to reach up to 90 kilometers per hour today. Snowfall and wind warnings are in effect for the Sea to Sky and Coquihalla highways. That's all for this morning. I'm Melanie Levesque, and this is 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Sushi is one of the most popular dishes in the world, but is sushi as we know it in Canada the same as it is in Japan? What do masters of the craft think about sushi here?
We have to do something new too. That one is not the deep fried sushi.
Not that.
No, not that way.
There's no doubt that Canadian food culture is heavily influenced by immigration. Vancouver's food scene is known for being incredibly rich in diversity, including some of the best Chinese food that can be found outside China. As a coastal city, we also have an abundance of seafood, which means dishes like sushi that utilize a lot of seafood are found everywhere. With all the different ethnic communities that call BC home, there is no shortage of cuisines to try. The variety of cuisine that lines our streets is a testament that immigrants continue to change local food culture. But is the reverse the same? Are our food preferences also changing traditional cuisine? The answer to this question is a little less obvious. For example, fortune cookies are ubiquitous in Chinese restaurants across North America. In the Western world, they are a symbol of Chinese cuisine and even culture. But did you know that fortune cookies are not found in China? The fortune cookie is actually a Japanese invention that was brought to America. My name is Tammy Mack. Welcome to Let Them Cook, a series where we explore how foreign food culture shifts and evolves when it travels the globe and becomes acquainted with new audience. This is episode 1, Mr. Yoshida. The California roll that is a staple in every sushi restaurant here was invented in Vancouver by chef Hidekazu Tojo, a Japanese Canadian and the namesake of Tojo's on Broadway, although there has been some debate about how accurate this is. Chef Tojo also claims to have been the pioneer of the inside-out style of sushi. Traditionally, sushi ingredients are wrapped in a seaweed wrapper facing the outside. However, Chef Tojo, sensing a local distaste for seaweed, instead wrapped his rolls in reverse order, with the rice on the outside and the seaweed hidden inside. Chef Tojo is also credited with other iconic rolls like the BC roll, rainbow roll, golden roll, and my personal favorite, the spider roll. He's also known as the first sushi chef to incorporate smoked salmon into sushi. Chef Tojo has become an ambassador of a sort for this new Canadian style of sushi. His innovations have proved more than a little successful, expanding to as far as Europe. Other sushi chefs have followed suit, including California rolls and the like in their menu. But what's it like as an authentic sushi chef navigating a market that already knows what it likes?
No, deep fried rolls, put on the sauce on top.
Deep fried
Yeah. And the dragon rolls. Yeah. That's more they like it. Yeah, but it's a business, right? If they like it, I gotta do it. Yeah, if they don't like it, I don't do it.
That was Chef Yoshida, a sushi chef walking the line between following local trends and adhering to his traditional cooking style. We'll meet him after the break.
This episode is sponsored by Marks. Visit your local Marks today for a wide variety of high-quality brands, ranging from Helly Hansen and Columbia to Carhartt and Levi's. Marks, all things simple.
Let's start by transporting to Yoshida Sushi, a modest, homey restaurant located near the intersection between Victoria Drive and 41st Avenue in Vancouver. The decor is simple, with wooden accents reminiscent of old restaurants in Tokyo. Owner and chef Ko Yoshida tells us they're still in their first year of business. Despite that, they've garnered a 4.8-star rating on Google. Out of 102 Google reviews, the majority of them are rave reviews, with the words delicious, fresh, and best repeated over and over again. Many praise their omakase set for its value and quality. Ko was born and raised in Japan, where he worked part-time for a few years before moving here as a 22-year-old. Most of his cooking experience comes from working in various sushi restaurants in Vancouver, so many he can't keep count. When asked about his experience transitioning from cooking in Japan to cooking in Canada, he only had two things to say.
When I have a North American food first time, so much mayonnaise, right? Deep fried mayonnaise, but Japanese doesn't have much that one. So very hard to, adjust to the North American style. Because in Japan it has not much rolls. Just a nigiri and sashimi. Nigiri size is much smaller than here. They have a 1 bite size, but in here almost a 2 bite size. That's very hard to adjust it.
He mentions that over his career, he's noticed that people are looking for something different, speaking to the global trend towards eating healthier.
But now I think I don't need to do too much because customer want to eat more original Japanese food. But I just a little bit sweeter than Japanese food. That's a more good for everybody. Used to be 20, 30 years ago. We have to put more mayonnaise and deep fry, but now more healthier, right?
Ko also tells us that what his clientele wants changes depending on which neighborhood he's in. He says this location on Victoria Drive attracts a predominantly Asian demographic that doesn't care too much for rolls, but likes a lot of fresh fish, especially scallop and eel. On the other hand, to serve a predominantly white demographic, he would have to include the likes of deep-fried rolls to stay afloat. Now, deep-fried California rolls aren't found in traditional Japanese food, of course, and Ko was quite candid about how he feels about them.
My opinion, there's no meaning to deep-fry the rolls because the rice is already cooked. Then deep-fry again is not make sense. So before cooked, then deep-fry, and I understand. But after make a steam rice, then deep-fry again, no make sense.
I wondered how he balanced adjusting to what his customers want versus how he feels sushi should be. He says that he remains committed to Japanese cooking styles, but part of the philosophy of Japanese cooking is to use fresh, quality ingredients, which is why he utilizes fresh, local fish, but he's also open to innovating with new ingredients.
But I wanna do more Japanese food. Not North American food. That's my policy. Japanese food has a pretty much long history, right? Then many people try and error, try to find the best way for Japanese food. So, but we have to do something new too. That one is not deep fried sushi.
Not that.
No, not that way. But use a local new fish, create, that's more Japanese style. So I have to find a new product, new vegetables. I'm using a local Dungeness crab, the BC spot prawns, sockeye salmon, and albacore tunas, and sea urchin too. And ikura, that's all local.
Cooking philosophy differs from chef to chef. You could ask the same question 1,000 times and still get a different answer each time, as long as you're asking different chefs. This is why there can be several renditions of something as simple as a California roll. Every time a chef reinterprets and puts their spin on it, the California roll is reinvented, becoming something that's in a constant state of being changed and reworked. It's this process that gives way to renditions like the controversial deep-fried California roll. Wow, did you think you would be hearing about drama in the sushi world today? From hearing about Ko's early observations on North American food culture, we can already predict what the inspirations for the deep-fried California roll were, which ironically involves both deep frying and mayonnaise. Oyama Sushi, located on Kingsway and Royal Oak in Burnaby, is a Korean-owned Japanese restaurant that serves deep-fried rolls and other fusion rolls, like one called the hash brown roll. Mohammed Imran Udin, who has been working at Oyama as a sushi chef for 2 years, says says their menu was developed based on the clientele's tastes.
So I found that like in Japanese style is a little bit different rather than in Western, like let's say Canada, America, US, like the sushi is a little bit different. So like I think based on the customer demand, they develop the menus.
Mohammed employs a whatever makes them happy philosophy when it comes to cooking. Rather than adhering to a grander cooking style, Mohammed is just happy to see his customers enjoy his food with a smile on their face.
I love to see customers smile face. That make me really happy. So just make the customer and make the people happy is my philosophy.
Between someone like Mr. Yoshida, who has a more of a traditional, principled take on sushi, and someone like Mohammed, whose primary goal is to make his customers happy, we get a sense of the sort of struggles going through the mind of someone bringing their traditional cooking to a new country. While cooking philosophy surely plays a role, we can't forget that things like remaining profitable and being able to sustain themselves are probably huge factors as well. How each chef juggles the balance between these factors is what makes the conversation about evolving food cultures and the work of immigrants a never-ending story. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I'd like to give a special thank you to Mr. Ko Yoshida and Mr. Mohammed Imran Udin for taking time out of their busy days to chat with us. Be sure to follow us on your preferred social platforms to be notified of new episodes. Next time, we'll be talking about the rise of Mexican food in Canada.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.